It is this sort of technological jump that has made AI now possible in the realm of management. And I can give you a lot of examples of how this manifests.
Let's hear from the experts about how artificial intelligence is transforming the world of business. I'm Katie Gaertner, and this is Unsupervised. Hey, Business Badgers. Today, I'm sitting with Mahka Moeen, a management professor here at the Wisconsin School of Business. Mahka earned her PhD in strategy and entrepreneurship from the University of Maryland. Her research focuses on how firms and entrepreneurs create and enter emerging industries. Specifically, she examines coevolution of entrepreneurial firms and these industries, examining strategies that they undertake in that early incubation stage. So, Mahka, let's talk about management and AI.
Sure. So first of all, I'm very excited that I'm here. Thank you for hosting this series.
Before we dive too deeply in, sure. I think many of my students actually won't know what management is or why it's a major at the business school. So maybe you can lay a groundwork for what they can expect from a management major and what that even means.
Okay. In that realm, we often think about two elements of management. One is that how you actually work with individual employees within a firm, how perhaps you motivate them. You deal with the psychological issues of making sure they come to work at their creative best, productive best version. Okay. And at the same time, there is a macro version of management in that you want to think about the higher level questions of how do you manage the entire firm, its entire business units in a sort of high level manner so that it increases firm performance, so that you have better profitability, better growth, or contribute to that societal mission that you have developed for yourself. So there is this like micro and macro version of it. If like people hear the words, the more micro version of it will be called organizational behavior. In the middle, there is the human resources, the HR that is in MHR. Yep. And then at the macro level, there is the more management or strategic management side of things that really talks about those higher level ones. So I am more in that macro side of thinking about firm as a whole and its performance. But students who are interested in management, there is this whole range of interests. And honestly, for a firm, somebody who wants to become a leader manager has to know all of this. So each class offers a nugget, but the pieces in the program come together.
Okay, thank you. That really clears things up. Thank you so much. All right, so now we can dive into the more fun stuff. How do you see AI being used in this management and entrepreneurial space?
So I'm gonna unpack a little bit about how I think about that predictive aspect and predictive machines, and maybe talk about a couple of technological changes that happened in the past few years that took us to where we are. So, and I study emerging tech, so autonomous vehicles is one of them. And if you think about the brain of that autonomous vehicle, it's an AI system. And over the past few years in autonomous vehicles, we have been introduced to 6 versions of self-driving cars. Oh, wow. And at every round they said, oh, this is a self-driving, this is autonomous. But you go to the version 15 years ago, autonomy in that level made sense, like, oh, you're deviating from your lane when driving. And that was the big deal. Yeah. That is not trivial when you think about it. A car that can recognize, oh, somebody is in your blind spot, beware. Like every time you have the flasher, we tend to think those are normal. They are not. That has been an engineering marvel in ways. But over the years, we have improved. Now, we consider them very basic, and now we're in a realm of, oh, I can have a car that can park itself. I can have a parked car, I put it on self-driving mode, and for the majority of cases, it goes. So how did we get here? What is the journey, and what are the management implications here? If we go to the what could have been the autonomous car of the past decade, Someone needed to write a code, a software, and tell the machine, that autonomous driver, that, hey, if you are at intersection A and you face this scenario, turn right. If you're at the other intersection, there is a tree there, stop. If you see someone walking, this is the range to scan. And it had to be a series of unlimited if and then. That code would have been, if you see this, then do that. Now imagine the unlimited range of scenarios that the driver faces every day.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Can you imagine it yourself?
Yeah. No, it would be infinite.
Infinite. So that's an untractable problem. There is no way that even the smartest software engineer could ever write that code. And even if we could write it, let's imagine there is a god of driving who can know all the streets, all scenarios, and write them. There was no processing center to understand that. So a lot of hurdles. So extend this to all sorts of autonomous decisions, this AV example, and we get a bottleneck. That becomes impossible. So with predictive AI, at least in the field of management, where we have moved is that we are no longer reliant on those series of if and thens. Now, instead of having that code, we are in a realm where someone looks at Katie's driving, so I'm putting you on the spot here, and says, well, I'm not going to write if and thens, but I'm going to observe Katie very closely, every one of her behaviors. And then the next time I have this autonomous driver in place, instead of giving that autonomous driver an order, I'm going to tell them, put yourself in Katie's place. Imagine you're Katie. You have not seen Katie face the scenario ever, but having observed her in the past, what is your prediction of what Katie would do now? We have seen her drive for years and years. She's a good driver, and voila, the system will say, yeah, I'm going to predict with this much percentage that Katie's next action is this. Now, if the percentage is above whatever we put as the threshold, then the machine will run that. See how easier this is? You don't have the if and thens. You just need to have past behavior of Katie and then generalize that, predict what she would do next.
Yeah.
Okay, this was a long introduction, so you with me there. Now, why do we care about this? Because now that very difficult problem of if and then, we transformed it into a regression, into a statistical relationship that by looking past behavior, you predict future behavior. This is what statisticians for centuries have worked on. We have perfected that, and voila, you have an autonomous system. This is the magic that has happened in our thinking, in our way of processing. But this hasn't just happened on its own. Now, what I used as a simple example, well, not a very important, but simple, of Katie's driving behavior means I have data about you. For years and years, I have observed you, learned from you. It's as if I had a, tracker to see where you went, with what speed, when did you take break, how many times you went back and forth for a parallel park. Well, I do need an autonomous system for that myself. But that data becomes key for conducting this purpose. Then you need an algorithm to have that regression, and then you need a future scenario to predict that. It is this sort of technological jump that has made AI now possible in the realm of management. And I can give you a lot of examples of how this manifests.
Yeah, so let's have some of those examples. What are you observing? How are companies responding to this evolution? How is it transforming their business models? What are they doing with it?
So absolutely. So take that example. Now I'm going to extrapolate it to the business world. Some of the things that companies have already done, and some of the things that are now open to them in the realm of possibility. So Amazon, let's think about Amazon, Netflix, YouTube. as three websites I assume we all go to very frequently. And think about like our behavior with respect to YouTube. I'm going to scroll through the website and then click on the video that I like. It used to be that in the past, YouTube had a number of suggestions for me. Based on my past behavior, they knew I like this and that, and they suggested that to me. Amazon does the same thing. They can tell you that, hey, you bought this thing, and now I think you're going to like that other thing, and I'm going to suggest it to you. This was the old format. Now, if Amazon can take all that data and really predict what is it that I want to buy next, why should it wait for me to click that order? If it knows that for whatever 95% accuracy, I am going to purchase that thing in the next few days, why shouldn't it go ahead and just mail it to me for me to find it in front of my door? I think that is what's a possibility in the realm of these AIs, or if not, they can preemptively ship it to a warehouse near me. YouTube can preemptively load the first few seconds of the next video that I know I want to watch, and think about what a huge customer satisfaction that creates, what a specialized service that is going to be. So having access to that data, being able to predict what is it that customers want next, creates that advantage for them. And these are like retail we're talking about. Now I can extend this to research and pharmaceutical setting. That's like an area I'm very interested myself in studying, is that we now have, or we had at least, things like the gene testing, the Ancestry.com, 23andMe's of the world, that a couple of Christmas ago, everybody was gifting these to each other. So these companies have the genetic information of a good portion of the population, very, very importantly, targeting demographics that were perhaps underrepresented in clinical trials before. Information that is now accessible. And think about how long it used to take for pharmaceutical companies to develop drugs. And if even it took them not long, then the subsequent clinical trials were losing sight of the entire population in terms of underrepresented groups. And now you have that data. You can predict what combinations will create what diagnostic powers, perhaps what diseases will be more pertinent in certain locations and areas, and then what type of treatments we can develop for that. This is not just Amazon is going to ship something to me earlier. This is a pharmaceutical drug and treatment happening decades earlier than what we could have had. So that is sort of the implications in business.
Yeah, that's exciting. Thank you. So maybe you can tell me about the developments that you're seeing in AI that you're the most excited about.
What I'm seeing in the medical devices sector that is very important is this hardware-software integration. In the sense that, let's say, previously you had a diabetic sensor, and you could say, okay, this is it. And then as a human, you had to decide, this is the level of insulin that I'll get. Or this is now within what the FDA range would have been, which is a bucket. Now imagine if you can give that predictive power to the software AI that is integrated with that medical device, and it makes nuanced, fine-grained decisions for you. Same with MRI. So that integration, I feel like, is going in. But my view is very limited to what I've studied and what I know.
So how do you see job roles changing, specifically in management? And what kinds of skills do you think our students in the business school need to develop to respond to these job role changes?
It's interesting. One of the things that I think is already happening, not full scale, would be Okay, students who take my class know I don't ban ChatGPT because I know everybody is using it. I know once you go to your company, maybe they don't allow you to use this open source version, but there will be a closed, secure version that I know in many investment banking companies, real estate companies, or legal companies, they are already asking their employees to use the closed company version of these. Now, what does that mean? From the way I understand it, many of the mechanical tasks of go read this thing, summarize it, rewrite it, prepare the report is going to go away very soon. But the synthesis part of it, the integration part of it, who knows what new version of ChatGPT will come, but where we're standing right now, those still exist. Or the teamwork capability, what is labeled as soft skills, but I think soft is not the appropriate label for it. Those will become primary skills that will be looked at that level. But the overall structure of the company, the way that it changed, I think that will have broader implications.
So by structure of the company, you mean like the change of command or like a promotion trajectory? Or what do you mean when you predict that the structure of the company will change?
Okay, that's a very good follow-up. So actually, the chain of command, I think, is a good way to put that forth. If you think traditionally about the hierarchy within a firm, you'll have top management, then historically, we know everyone, every middle manager has a span of attention. There is a limited number of team members that each of them can manage. The joke goes that there is a 2 pizza rule. If you cannot feed your team with 2 pizzas, it means you have too many people there. You cannot coordinate tasks.
Okay.
So that restriction means that you always needed levels and levels of managers to communicate, to coordinate, to know their team members. I think one hypothesis moving forward is we're going to have fewer of those layers. If managers are using more of these supplement AI resources for their management maybe will have fewer of them. And then employees will have to learn to work in larger teams, work with other coordination mechanism that's not necessarily face-to-face, human to human. And but that's a hypothesis.
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting to think about nonetheless. So thank you. All right. Mahka, let's finish up with a fun question.
Okay.
All right. So if you could offload one responsibility or one task at home or at work that you would never have to do again, you could give it to AI, what bot would you invent?
Okay. At home and at work, those are 2 different things.
Yes, you can choose.
Yeah, at work, it definitely goes to grading. So I know this is gonna don't repeat it to my own students. But the reality is, as much as the students don't like to submit assignments, professors do not want to grade them either. This is a very mutual relationship. So if there is a way to actually, for that agent robot to be able to understand the essence of the questions, that would be lovely.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Do you have one for at home?
That is a little bit more difficult. I don't know if it's AI or not, but a variety of cleaning agents, that's good. And if they know when to clean, where to clean, where not to. And I always joke about this, about our Roomba at home. I thought I'll buy one and it will clean everywhere. But now it's a whole process because anytime before I started, I have to make sure there is no leftovers somewhere. There is nothing that the Roomba is going to eat and get stuck. So it hasn't been that helpful.
Right. Yeah.
I
you
hope
have
there
to
is
clean for the
one.
cleaning bot.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mahka. I've really enjoyed talking to you and learning from you and hearing your perspectives. And I know my students will enjoy it as well. I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
I really, really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Unsupervised is brought to you by the Wisconsin School of Business. It's written and hosted by Katie Gaertner, with sound editing and production by Derek Schneider and Billy Kardaj.